Hi, it's Whale Shark. In this video, I am going to show briefly how I play this game as a legally blind, visually impaired person. This is not an accessibility review, but it will point out some of the things I do like about Legend Bowl. Hopefully in this video I can show how people play video games or do things a little bit different than the norm, and how different people have different abilities and still play the same games that everybody plays. It's just a matter of you have to keep your expectations and things in check. I know I'm not going to be as good as a lot of people. Like if I would play somebody head to head, I mean, there's a good chance that they're gonna beat me, just because they're able to do things a little bit different. But I don't mind that. I just step up to the challenge and do my best and try to take care of business or out strategize the person. To go over quickly my vision, I have a genetic retinal condition known as retinitis pigmentosa, so I am losing sight over time. My vision has never been this bad. It just keeps getting a little bit worse. It's very gradual, and sometimes I don't even notice that it's getting worse until I notice something that I used to be able to see or see better. I do not see a lot of different color. I see in shades, so when two colors are next to each other, I can tell that there's a difference, but I don't necessarily know what they are. I am night blind, so I do not see in the dark. And when it comes to video games, if there's dark areas, I don't really see. And if it's like dark on dark, so if there's a dark enemy or a dark object in something that's dark, I don't see it. In the same way, if it's light, if it's a light on light image on a light background, I have trouble seeing it. Like I like the contrast. I also have like kind of tunnel vision. I'm losing my peripheral vision. So I sit in front of a 50-inch TV and I sit about a foot away from it. I'm really close, and then I lean in sometimes to read something if I have to read it. There are also things on the screen, like those items up top that popped up there. I don't see what they are. I see a box pop down, but I don't see the words. I know there's words there. I just can't make out the letters. So in some games that I've played, like I've played them and then lost vision over time, so I have to make adjustments to how I play them and how I try to see things. When I'm playing Legend Bowl here, when I pick a play, I can kind of see how it's flowing. I don't always see the red line on running plays, but I just look how the blocking is going, because I can see the white blocker routes, and I just try to run through them. Now, as far as avoiding defenders and things, I just do the best I can to get through there. As far as passing plays go, I look at the play that I have. I try to pick a primary receiver and just watch him the whole time. And I normally have a secondary option, so what I do is if the first route seems to be covered, I would just hit the button for the second route, without really ever finding the guy to know if he's open or anything. I just pick it and throw and hope for the best that he's open, or he can, at least it won't get intercepted. I personally like this game because of the image. When something's too realistic looking, like Madden, it actually is harder for me to see any detail. With the pixel art stuff, and it's a little bit more of a like a 2D image versus a 3D actual thing. This is just way easier for me to see. And when it comes to games, I've always been like very statistic driven. I like to play and analyze, look at stats, try to get things better. And with this game, I like the whole setup. Um, as far as the stats, it's deep and not as complicated, and the print is way bigger than the Madden games. So I'm really enjoying Legend Bowl to this point. There's a man down. Um, when I actually play a game, I turn off all the shadows and things like that because I try to minimize the amount of noise on a screen at a time, because things would just blend in. Like I won't see people if they're standing in shadows, or a lot of the fields have that light dark every 5 yards, and sometimes that even hides players from me. They just camouflage into it, and I don't see them. So I try to get as little noise, visual noise, as possible on the screen. I kind of like the team building aspect, the franchise, the drafts, and then I'll simulate season just to see if a team can get better and try to run teams that way. I do like doing that. I do like playing games every once in a while, but I do more sim stuff, and I have a couple sim franchise on the channel right now if you want to check those out. When I'm running a franchise or looking at a team and looking at the numbers, the skill numbers, I sit about a foot and a half away from a 50-inch TV, and I will have to sometimes lean in to see different numbers, different fonts and stuff play havoc on my eyes as far as trying to determine different numbers. If it's a 5, a 6, an 8, a lot of those look the same because I have little breaks in my central vision, so I have holes. So sometimes if I look at like an 8, part of that 8 is missing, and I might take it as a 6 or a 5, and so I just have to kind of keep double checking, and I do move my head and my eyes around a little bit, and I will see um, differences in the numbers, and then I'll just lean in to try to determine if that is the number that I think it is. And if it's not, that's all right. Mistakes happen. Then running a franchise and things, there is the roster sheet. So all of this is a little bit too small for me to read. If I lean in, I can make out some of it, but not all of it. So what I do is I use the magnifier option on a PS4, and it does this for me, and then I control it with the right stick and move it around, which makes it a little bit easier to read. I can kind of make this out without leaning in too much, but sometimes again to make sure I see if it's a 5 or a 6 or a 2, an 8, I have to lean in. But this helps me look around and determine what I'm doing, and I have no time restraints on this. It's not like objects are moving or I have to make a decision. This is just all text. And the reason I don't play a lot of different games, in some games they get too text heavy, and that just plays havoc. And the font is really, really small. And games like, say, Fallout and things that are inventory heavy, No Man's Sky, that would just drive me nuts because I can't really see icons and stuff that go with those and represent different items. And constantly blowing up and moving things around or trying to find things would just frustrate me to no end. So something like this I can do just with that zoom factor, and it makes it bearable, and there's no time. Like I'm not in a time crunch to make a decision on this stuff because it's basically like in a pause mode. In a video I'll link down below, I showed how to adjust the game speed and the difference in some of the game speeds. So if I do play a game, I generally slow it down a little bit just to give me a little bit of a chance to see where players are moving. Because if a player moves too fast, or if I didn't see where he goes, I can't relocate him. If I have to look right at him to keep track of where he is. So in some games, especially like I do play some Fortnite, is if somebody moves to the right and to the left, if I pick up that they move to the right, there's a good chance that miss that they move back to the left. So I have trouble finding and relocating that individual. And the same thing happens here. Is if a player moves or like moves between players and then they change direction, I don't always see that change of direction. So I slow the game speed down a little bit, and hopefully I can relocate that person because they're not moving quite as fast. I will link that video at the bottom here. If you have any questions about how I play or more about my vision issue, you can ask them down in comments below. I'll be happy to talk about it or explain it, or even talk about what it's like to go blind or lose vision over time. I don't mind fielding questions, and it's not like a bad topic for me. I'd be glad to help anybody else out or field questions for it and what it's like. Thank you for watching this video. And again, if you have any questions or anything, please put them in the comments down below and I will get back to you, and or I can cover them in a future video. I can show you more of what I actually see or do. Thanks. Until next time. Take care. See you later. It's fourth down.